Well, hello, this is Dr. Lemmon, and I'm answering questions, and I've been using this format to do that. I have a lot of people all of a sudden email me various different questions, and I kind of group them together and throw these out as, you know, and just link them back and said, hey, check out this video. So my questions that come in, I get a lot of questions about certainty. I get a lot of questions about why I talk about arrogance of 51%. And I get a lot of questions about possession because that was kind of a forte. I worked a lot with possessed people. So let me see if I can package it together. There's a lot of moving pieces in all this, but we'll see if we can't get an overview, an umbrella view that puts it all together more or less in some way, shape, or form. So when you're born into the life, you've noticed that you're pretty much handicapped. You can't function, you can't speak, you can't do anything, right? Scream, holler, can't even see yet. So you basically are learning how to be a human. You're coming in as who knows what. Whatever story you have is fine with me. I don't care. But you're coming into this whole package, and as this unfolds, you're learning to be a human. The first things you learn are the things that would kill you. And those are the things that are most secured in. The things that feel like they have a risk or a danger. The things that people would say no to. Don't do that, you can get hurt. Those are the things that log in. And they're very, very important to your survival. So don't discount that. It is important. And how we keep alive. We don't really have time to think. And sometimes we can be highly distracted and run into a post. We've seen people with cell phones running into posts. Funny humor on the internet. So basically, it narrows down, our consciousness narrows down, and we can get in trouble. So the automatic systems that don't go through the brain, they're automatic, they're just pattern responses, they're learned. We call them unconscious patterns. They're all pretty much devised around survival or some interpretation of survival, right? And so all those pieces are in there meant to keep you alive. Lots of times those pieces will stop you because moving forward or moving in a direction of a potential for you always incurs some kind of risk. You could fail, and failure could be your life. So there's an internal struggle, right, that comes in between the two. So the game is very simple. We used to be able to say, we used to call it confidence, and then we started calling it certainty, and I started calling it arrogance. The idea is if that 50% of you feels like I can do this, I know I can do this, right? So how does that fabricate? It fabricates from what we call stories. So if you watch little kids, they're excited because, oh, I'm now big enough to reach the sink, or I'm now big enough to use a bathroom of my own, or I'm now big enough or old enough to tie my own shoes. So that report on their ability to manage life becomes a projection of what they can do. I think I could do this. I think I can run faster than you. I think I could climb this tree. So those are the story indexes. Those are the components that integrate an idea, a creative, imagined idea into a potential for movement to accomplish that idea. I know that's a mouthful. Okay. If that creative idea has what I call 50 to 51% of the internal concept of you locked into it, you'll take the risk. Anything less than 50%, all those defense systems are going to set off alarms, and you're going to step back and retreat. You're going to be guarded. All right. So that 50 to 51% is not just made up of confidence, right? That's too simple a term. There is a piece of confidence or certainty in there. There is also a little piece of authority. So arrogance starts to, that's why I use the term arrogance. Arrogance says, I'm very comfortable with doing this. I am certain that I can do it, and I'm defiant enough to go do it, right? By 50 or 51%, we don't want to get where you're 57 or 59 or 65 or 80%, because then our arrogance becomes just a story that we've done it and we never did anything, right? We become then the deceiver of us. In the very, very beginning, it's an inspiration at some point in time when people say, "Yeah, I done that. You're doing it wrong." Well, what do they know, right? See, you understand. You've all experienced some variation of this. So you got to think about when you're engaging in potential in life. All my work is about human potential. I am just encouraging people. When I started working way back when, I encouraged people, hey, you can do this. Let me help you. Let me help you along the way. Let me assist you in some way, shape, or form. Did it work out 100%? No, of course not. It worked out a little bit. Some great success, some mediocre success, and some total failures. That's just the way life is. But the engagement of what's working together makes it much better than a person sitting there saying, as soon as I get these paperwork done, I'm going to do this. I know people that have been working on a dream and vision for 20 years and haven't got out the front door. And it just doesn't make any sense. They either are lacking authority or confidence where they can't get past that 50%, that arrogant piece where they say, get out of my way, I'm going to try this. I have always had that arrogance, obnoxious, how I felt, probably more times than I've been successful. I don't really care, right? You understand? It's kind of like I managed to stay alive. I managed to jump out of airplanes, jump off cliffs, climb up mountains, do all kinds of crazy stuff, and not get killed. So I had the experience. I had the adventure. I went out and did things. There were things that I did once or twice. I said, I'm not going to do that again. Okay, that's that's a part of learned wisdom. So what we start to do is we start to build a story. And then at 50 to 51%, somewhere in there, we all of a sudden have enough confidence, authority to try it. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work out the way you think it will. But once you get into movement, then the path starts to reveal itself. You can look down a path in the woods and say, oh, I think that's the right path. And you go down there a little ways and you go, oh my goodness, this dead ends at the edge of a cliff. You're not the right path. And then you go back and you pick another one. That's more the way it works. So we call that a mapping, right? So the more information you can get about the terrain that you're going to be working, creating your vision in, the better off. But it's really hard to sit there and imagine the terrain because now you're making it up. You're creating it. So it's much, much better to go out and take a look. Move. If you move in that 50 to 51%, if you move, then your story is now flowing with what we call emotion, emoting, energy to move. And so we're now moving in a direction and we're discovering, oh, that's not the way, but this looks good now. Let me try this. And we're developing then a piece of information that we can utilize and play forward on it. Okay, so it's all story driven. That's it. That's how we process. We don't sit there and say, oh, I have a Google map in my head. No, you just go out and you explore the world. If you looked at a Google map and you got the information and you can integrate it into movement, you won't get lost. I personally, but I'm sure all of you have given maps to people or printed maps to people and say here and give them detailed directions and they get lost. They can't just follow those directions. So we say, well, some people aren't spatial. Other people have a certain skill set, or they need a good navigation tool, or they need a voice saying turn left at the corner, whatever, right? Because we're not all the same. So that's how we build stories that are somewhat different. They're framed a little different. As long as you have that level of confidence, certainty, arrogance, you had a starting point. Now, literally, when you get to one of those pieces where you want to engage into it, and you all of a sudden think that you've got that going for you, I'm going to try this. I'm the adventurer. I'm going to go check that out. But if somewhere you're not at quite 50% in this package, maybe you don't think you have the authority. Maybe you're sneaking around thinking I'm going to explore this, but I don't want to get caught. So I've done it a lot of times, right? Sometimes I get caught, punished, sometimes not. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, that's kind of the mix. If you're not quite at that, then what we start to say is that the concept is not secure in you. It's not 50 to 51% is not secure. You're not going to go in and make the magic of it working. What you're going to do is go into it and flounder a little bit. Yes, all those things could flounder a little bit. But when you flounder a little bit less than 50%, you're now subject to being able to question you because obviously you didn't have the authority to push through, or you would have compromised, figured something out, made adjustments. That's what we do when we move. We make adjustments, right? We're just in motion. Oh, I should turn here. Oh, look over here. Oh, this didn't work. I'll turn around, go back and go another way. That's it. That's the way life unfolds. If you don't quite have that authority, if you go down, I had a guy working for me one time, and his father had asked me if I would, his father was kind of a friend, or at least friendly. And he asked me if I would give his son a job. So I gave his son a job. And his son was like 27 years old. He's had many, many jobs, usually not one for more than 3 or 4 months. He was a mess. Okay. So nice looking guy, very nice, appeared very sharp, showed up on time, clean, did what you told him to do. He was a good worker, but most certainly was very lacking authority. One day I was leaving work. He got off work a little bit before I was leaving work, going out to go home. I was managing a grocery store. And I'm walking out and I see him sitting in his car. And he's crying. The window's down. It's summertime. We're in Southern California or Sacramento. And the window is down. And I'm looking and I go over and said, "You all right? You hurt? Had something wrong?" He said, "I have a flat tire and I don't know what to do." And he was just crying. So I said, "Do you have a spare?" He goes, I don't know. He had no resources at all. So I got the spare out. I worked with him a little bit. We put the spare tire on. We got it on the car, put the other one in the trunk. We then got him in the car, got him cleaned up, got him in the car. I spent about half an hour changing his tire with him. And I said, "Okay, now you go. Take off. You're all set to go home, and you're going to have to go get that tire fixed. That's flat." And he said, "Yeah, okay." And he left. A little later on that night, his father, about 2 hours, his father called me and said, "Did he ever leave work? He's never got home." So they had to finally, by midnight, call the police. He was sitting in a parking lot somewhere halfway between work and their home, still in tears, in fear of going home and telling his parents. He's 24 years old, telling his parents that he got a flat tire. So he doesn't really have enough of that dynamic of being confident and arrogant enough to say, "Hey, I got a flat tire. I don't know how to fix it. Can you help me?" That would have been a better approach I would have used, probably you would have used, but he couldn't quite do that. So those people are subject to a control from their fear or from their defenses, because now their fear and defenses are about 50% of the matrix of you. You have to get past that to keep you alive. He was so frightened that he would get punished at 24 for having a flat tire. I know the average person can't even begin to imagine that, but most certainly it brought him to tears. So we look at those as mental states or mental emotional problems. Those mental emotional problems can then become what we call possessions. Literally, when you have an idea of you, and the first idea of you is your parents give you a name, they introduce you to a culture, they introduce you to a language, they introduce you to a way of thinking. We even see different ranges of colors in a rainbow than other people in other countries do. It's so hugely different. It's just amazing, right? So we learn our way, right? Which you can see why this tribal thing is such a pain in the butt to get out of and become a global people. We're learning our way from birth, or probably pre-birth, right? And so all this package is ingrained into us. Literally, we're getting possessed with the idea of who we are culturally, religiously, spiritually, whatever you want to call it. Those pieces are ingrained into us. And if our defenses are greater, then those pieces are defended, which is really scary. So most of the time, my experience, you could imagine, I've got a friend who, I've got some education in psychology. So I've got a friend who's a psychiatrist. We have lunch together and now and then. We met each other at seminars, and then this was at Stanford University. And so he calls me and he said, "I got a client that's possessed. Can you work on him?" I said, "Well, I don't know. What do you mean?" Well, he says, Possession is not in the manual. When you're a licensed person at the time, possession wasn't in the manual DSM. So therefore, they can't legally do a treatment on someone for a condition. They can't even diagnose a condition that's not in a book because it don't officially, because they're licensed. I wasn't licensed, right? I was a teacher. So I said, yeah, okay, I get it. I'll come over and do it. So we're at Stanford University. We're in an auditorium and I'm on stage after hours. And I'm on stage with a lady. She's flopping around the floor. They got her in a blanket and they got her handcuffed with a rope. They got her roped. And she's flopping around the floor and making noises and whatever. And I got maybe 20 people watching. And so 2.5 hours later, I got her rope off of her. I got her sitting in a chair and we're having a conversation, right? And so we calmed down a little bit. And so she's just like the guy with the tire that couldn't change it. She just had the silliest little things in life that just kicked her over the top. She didn't have authority to take care of it. We sat down and we started having discussions. And I would just tell her, look at me. I can do anything. I can do anything. Look at me. Now feel that force. Match that force. And then I have to talk to them and do that silly routine again, maybe a dozen times, and maybe some version of this over and over and over again. And what happens is all of a sudden, 2 years later, she wanted to dance. And her partner in life, which was not even marriage, it was a boyfriend, and he didn't live with her, didn't want her dancing because he thought he was religious. He thought that was lewd or wrong, but she wanted to dance and she liked dancing. So next thing I know, 2 years later, she not only took dance lessons, but she's working at a dance studio teaching kids dancing lessons. So she lost the boyfriend, but she integrated that power into her life. That's just a simple step. I'm here in Washington. I'm at a waterfall over in Oregon. I've got some friends, and there's what I call falls over in Oregon, a large falls, and there's halfway up there's a bridge, so you can go up a path and then stand on the bridge and look at the falls kind of midway, and it's kind of cool. So I'm going up the path, and I walk kind of fast. So the rest of the group with me are, they're not quite as old as I am, and they walk a little slower. And that's okay. I said, hey, I'll see you guys at the top. So I get all the way to the top, and I get up there. And there's a woman over there that's got her son that's, I don't know, maybe like an 8-year-old or so, maybe 9, and he's just scared. He's hanging on to a bush along the trail because he's looking at that bridge and he's just scared to death. And she's going, come on, I'll hold your hand. They ain't gonna buy it. They're just not gonna buy it, right? And he's just terrified, totally terrified, right? And I don't know her. I didn't even talk to her. I walked over to that boy and I said, hey, you, what's your name? And he told me, and I said, look at me. I'm a firefighter. I climb ladders. I'm not afraid of height. I'm not afraid of anything. Take my hand and we'll walk out there. And I put my hand out. His mother stepped back. Can you believe? He took my hand and we walked out on that bridge and standing there. And I said, hold on to my leg, hold on to my pants on the side, hold on tight and hold the other one on the rail and take this in and just relax with it. Nothing's going to happen. I can handle all this. If this collapsed right now, I could save you. I am the best there is. So all this BS, you see, that literally had the power to possess him with a piece of confidence. You see how people can get possessed from some silly, crazy thing? And then when he's all confident, he's got let go of me, had his hands just barely on the rail. Finally, he took his hands off and was standing there. It's kind of like, whoa. And then he could feel that that's a possession. He was now possessed with the certainty and all that energy that I gave him, that he all of a sudden. So I said, cool, you got this made. Of course, his mother then walked out and his father walked out and his sister walked out, and they're all out there looking at the fall. And he's standing there so proud of himself because he's out there and none of the family helped him. He did it on his own. I really was in the middle of that. I didn't get credit. So literally I said, okay, nice meeting you guys. I never even told him my name. I said, nice meeting you guys. And I started to walk by and he said, and his dad said, oh, it's okay. I'll take you back. He said, no, I'm going back with him. And I said, okay. I put my hand out and I said, touch my hand, but don't hold on to it. Just touch it. And I'm going to walk backwards because I'm not afraid of anything off this bridge. And you're going to watch me. You're walking forward. I'm walking backwards. And we'll step off this bridge. And I did that. I got off the bridge and I said, how do you feel? And he said, I feel great. I said, you got it. You want to go back out there again? He said, I could do that. I said, you could. And then his family came along. They said, oh, we better go down. I said, okay, bye. And I took off. Literally, I walked fast. I got down to the bottom of the hill. I'm waiting in line to get a cup of coffee. And I see him and his family walk by. And I don't know what his name was. I can't remember. Bob, John, Ronnie, whatever. I said hi, Ronnie, to him. He glanced over and looked at me and looked back like I was a total stranger, talking to his family, full of his own pride, full of his own confidence, telling a story about how he went out on that bridge and how he was so proud of himself. I wasn't ever a part of it. So that's the idea of taking a support and being able to insert that into someone as a consideration. I call those influences. So we see influences in sales. I've been in sales. It's just the marketing. It's just sales. It's just simply, I'm telling him, but I'm telling him with huge amount of confidence. It's the energy in me that displays that confidence that he matches. It's not me. It's not, he needs me. No, he don't need me. That energy is much greater than me. He feels that display, that juice that's running. And it's like, wow, I made up a story. That's it. I made up a story. I presented him with a story. Do you see how these organizations make up stupid stories and get people indoctrinated into it, and they go out and they're spreading the word on some silliness that makes no sense whatsoever? This is exactly how those possessions are. It does not take much. You literally come in becoming possessed by a family, by a culture, by a whole society. And if you can get to 50, 51%, past the defenses, you can start to then look at a potential unique for you. And you could then take that on and literally become possessed with your accomplishments. So by the time you're 80 or 90 years old, somewhere around my age, you'll feel, hey, I can do this. I can do this. There are a lot of things that my wife says, are you going to do that? And I said, I'll do this. This, I'm going to hire someone. Because at 80, I don't know if I want to tear the roof off and replace the roof, although I've done that before. But, getting old, it's like, God, I'm really sore for a couple of days after climbing around up there, fixing a water leak or something, But I still like doing that stuff. I don't think I'd want to do it for a living, right? But I most certainly love doing that stuff. I love exploring the potential for me to figure something out, to play with it, to put it all together, to get it all to work. So I've had tons and tons of hobbies. I've had tons and tons of adventures. I know you have too. So expanding all that out is range. As you expand that out, this confidence at 50 to 51% then starts to reflect into the world. It's not you becoming 100% arrogant, then the world disappears and you're just looking in a mirror view. It's this at 50 to 51% allows you to be juiced up and possessing the ability to interact, to map your way through that world and become an element in that world. That's where the strength gets. That influence, sometimes it needs support from someone, sometimes you can build it up, but you have to have an idea of the range for that. You have to be able to see the potential for that out there too. So somewhere in the midst of arriving at 50 to 51% arrogance, I can do this. I have the authority. I have the confidence. I don't know what the shit I'm doing, but I'm going to go for it. And the fact that I have enough range where if this little narrow way I think is going to work doesn't work, I can switch. So sometimes you have to think about it for a month or two, not 10 years, a couple of months, and then start to engage in it. Or sometimes you have to engage in it, make a mistake, fall back, and then that way you learn more of the range. So all these pieces tie together. Yes, when I was teaching, I'd have to teach one at a time, right? It's just like, could you imagine a student sitting there learning to play the piano at the same time having a reading lesson on philosophy and somebody asking questions on chemistry formulas? It's like your brain would go tilt. I mean, how could you do all those things? So you can't do all those things at once. So you have to kind of stage them out into pieces and bits that you can learn and develop mastery on. And that's just that simple. It's simple. Will it take time? Sure, it takes time, right? But that's what we have. We have time. We don't have eternity, but we have lots of time, right? And so if you start out very young in life, you can accomplish some amazing things. Personally, me hampered in life is I had some health conditions when I was young. I was just a really wimpy, sickly kid. And so it took me probably 8-9 years before I could start to realize that no one was going to fix my health condition but me. And so then I decided, rather than be limited, I'm going to take action. And then from an age around 5 or 6, I started taking action. Some of it accomplished some great goals. I got healthier. I'm surprised now, looking at 80 years old, that I'm still alive, because it wasn't very promising when I was little. And so I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I have no idea. But all I'm sharing is the things that I've learned in life, right? Yes, I used to teach them because people would come in with a problem, and I would teach them segue little pieces that they were missing. I would make assessments and say, you're missing this piece. Let's learn that. I'd put them into a class. I'd train some people to teach different aspects. And so that whole package became a center. And at some point in time, all of a sudden, the energy, the center, I was carrying completely. And I decided I'm going to pull my energy out and see if it'll fly on its own. Remember that 51%, right? So I'm pulling my energy out, saying, I'm going to give it a life of its own. Let's see what it can do. And it floundered quite a bit. And then I went away. And then I came back, and it was like it all became, I'd like to use the word somewhat corrupted, right? It all became kind of a little seeding ground for everybody one-upping people. It's like, well, that's kind of interesting. So I had to get rid of some people. I had to shuffle things around. I had to restructure again. I went back and said, hey, you guys want to try this again? And nobody wanted to. So I just closed it down and moved on in life, right? So many, many times I have closed things down and moved on with life. And I'm a big advocate of that. I don't think it's fault if you get out of college, you get a job, and you work there until you retire. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't want to do that. But if you want to do that, that's great. It makes for huge experts in a certain field. You get so much diversity. It's unbelievable, right? But I get a little bored too quick. I'm a little bit too impatient. So like, okay, I figured this out. Next, right? That's kind of where. So I'm probably edging more towards the 51%, maybe 51.5%. Some people think of me as being a little arrogant or obnoxious, but I haven't had that complaint too much. I've had a lot of people saying, I've had people say, what do you think you can help me? And I says, well, because I think you have the money to pay me. And they go, well, and then they're sitting there, and it's kind of like, they don't know where to go from there. It's like, am I taking them for a ride? Okay, fine. Then they go away. Good. Problem solved. I don't have to do anything. All right. How much do I have to charge them? I don't know. I don't have a fee schedule. I don't care one way or the other, right? I got people that pay me thousands of dollars, and I got people that have never paid me, and I'm all fine with all that because none of that means anything to me. Do you see how those become authority links? Do you see who's got the authority? See, these are just, we're using language, and I'm just kind of giving you some clues. There's a lot of moving pieces. So you start to see it's like how this flows, how this moves into it. Yeah, when I retired, I had to kill all my services for contact. Everybody and their brother would be calling me forever. I took all of my data from all the classes I taught, tons and tons of classes for 14 years. I did anywhere from 12 to 14 workshops, some 3 days, some 1 day, some 2 days for all that time. And so plus classes 5 nights a week. And all that data and all that material. And when I quit, I just deleted it all from my computers. I threw all the files away. I threw the database away. I threw away all the phone numbers and everything. And then from that day forward, anybody that was on the way to contact me, it's like, okay. And I talked to them. And that's just been kind of an adventure because my wife and I started traveling and all of that. And then COVID came along and it's just kind of like, oh, wow, I guess I got to create the world in a different way. So here I am in front of a computer talking to you, and I'm really pleased to do it. So if you have any questions on any topic, why go ahead and email me. It's chris@wizardscatch.com. That's WIZARDSCACHE. I'd be glad to entertain your questions. I'm not a person that has all the answers, but I'm a person that has confidence to look at all of them. If I don't have an answer, I'll give you some suggestions. I don't have a problem with all the above. And so I would love to be able to see an email from you. And if it's communication we need, then I'd be more than happy to call and chat with you. So thank you very much. And we'll, as soon as I find the end button on these things, they should be easier to turn off. You know, it's like there's a whole, whatever. Maybe someday I'll invent something. All right. Thank you. Bye.